Hi friends, welcome to Srisai IT Hub. In this video of Core Java Programming, we are going to discuss the following topic: Generalized Exceptions in Java Program. So this is catching any type of exception. So how to catch any type of exception? We are going to discuss this with generalized exceptions. Right, so first of all, let us start with what is exception. So exception means runtime error. And what is runtime error? Error which occurs during execution time of a program. Means while executing the program, when we get the error, such type of error is called as runtime error. So why runtime error occurs? What is the reason for that? So basically, we get runtime errors during execution time when we give improper input or wrong input to our program. In that situations, we'll get the runtime error. What happens when we get runtime errors? So when we get runtime errors or when exception occurs, program execution stops then and there itself. It means the program execution stops at that particular line only. Remaining lines of the program is not executed, and technically it is called as abnormal termination of the program or breakdown of the program. So how to avoid this abnormal termination of the program or breakdown of the program? Now for this we have exception handling mechanism. So an exception handling mechanism, using try block, we are going to monitor or detect exceptions in our program, and then throw keyword, we are going to alert or say that exception had occurred in try block, and then catch block, we are going to accept the exception which occurred in try block, and we are going to provide a best solution. So what is the advantage of exception handling mechanism? So the main advantage is no abnormal termination of the program. It means our program execution takes place normal till the end of the main program. So now coming to generalized exception. How to handle generalized exception? But first of all, what is this generalized exception? So let us try to understand with a small example. So sometimes we don't know which type of exception will occur in try block. Means we don't know what is the type of the exception, whether it is arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, or any other type of exception. In that situation, we can handle the exception using top level exception base class. So the top level exception base class is exception class itself. So it means using this exception class, we can handle or we can provide a solution in catch block for any type of exception. So this mechanism comes under upcasting process, where subclass exception can be caught by base class. So this is exception in inheritance. So this is what is handling generalized exception using top level exception base class. So using this top level exception base class, we can catch any type of exception, because all exceptions in Java are subclasses of exception class, directly or indirectly. Right. So it means handling exception as generalized exception. means with exception base class, and then checking for specific subclass exception using instance of operator. So using instance of operator, we can check that particular exception belongs to which subclass. So if we take the exception classes hierarchy, at the top level we have throwable class and then followed by exception class. So if we take any predefined exception or user defined exception, all these exceptions comes under these two classes only. And under this we have checked exception and unchecked exception, compiler known exceptions, try catch is compulsory, compiler unknown exceptions, try catch is not compulsory. So here exception class is a base class for all the predefined exceptions or user defined exception classes. So what is happening here when you are catching exceptions as generalized exception? Upcasting happens, that is subclass object reference code in base class object reference variable. Okay, so it goes like this: catch exception E. So this is generalized exception catch. So it can catch any type of subclass exception. So upcasting process happens here. So let us try to demonstrate this with a small program. Generalized exceptions example 1.java. So first let us take a comment, take a new page. So program to work with generalized exceptions. Okay. So generalized exceptions. So class generalized exception example 1 and program execution starts with main method. So let us save this program in our working directory. Generalized exceptions example 1.java. Right. So let us take the basic null pointer exception. So string ss. So initially we'll take ss is equals to hello, and then we will print here try system dot out dot println string length is ss dot length method. So HELLO, so length should be 5. And then we'll take catch, and then since there is a possibility of null pointer exception, first we'll take null pointer exception only, E, and then print E. It will print exception type and message. And then finally we'll also print end of the program in the last. Right. So save this, open the command prompt, go to your working directory, compile the program, javac generalized exceptions example 1.java. Compile it. Right, no error, no compilation error. Run it. Java generalized exception example 1. So string length is 5 and end of the program. Right. So now ss is equals to hello. By mistake we'll take ss is equals to null. Now in try block we should get null pointer exception. Right, save it, recompile, and run. So we got null pointer exception, and then finally end of the program. Now we can catch this null pointer exception with exception class also. For example, we can take it as something catch exception E. Now this is catching exception as generalized exception, right? And then inside the catch block we'll check if E instance of null pointer exception, then give the solution for null pointer exception. Otherwise, if E is instance of arithmetic exception, then give solution for arithmetic exception. So catching as a generalized case and then checking using instance of operator. Right, save it, command prompt, recompile and run. So null pointer exception and then end of the program. So here we can also write null pointer exception catch block separately also. For example, catch, okay, or else we'll take it in the last, catch null pointer exception NPE, and then we'll give the solution as system.out.println NPE, right? So here we are taking both generalized exception catch block as well as specific exception, which is null pointer exception. So in this case, we'll get a compilation error saying that null pointer exception has been already caught. So the compiler is saying that null pointer exception is already caught in this generalized exception. So don't take it separately. So whenever we are having multiple catch blocks with generalized exception, use generalized exception catch block in the last. So use this catch block with null pointer exception at the beginning and then followed by generalized exception catch block. Now in this situation, it will compile and then run. So we got null pointer exception, and this exception is caught in the first catch block itself in this line 15. And if we get any other exception which is not known, that will be caught by generalized exception catch block. So one important point here. So generalized exception catch block should be used in the last if we are using multiple catch blocks. So when unknown exception occurs, it will be processed by generalized catch block. Hence, if unknown exception occurs, then it will be processed by generalized exception catch block. So this is how we are supposed to work with generalized catch block exception, which is used at the end of all the multiple catch blocks. So that is what is all about generalized exception in Java program, which is used to catch any type of exception which is occurring in try block. So generally unknown exceptions can be caught by generalized exception catch block, which is top level base class exception class. Thank you for watching this video. Do like, share and comment this video, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel Sri Sai IT Hub. Have a nice day.